Hello, my name's Harry, and in this video I'm going to be discussing the MAXScript tool, MacCreator, that I created. Specifically, I'm going to be going over loading the script, doing a very minor edit to it, using the script, and some of its limitations. So if you've unzipped the MacCreator tool on your desktop or wherever, you can just drag and drop it into the viewport and it will be loaded in. However, I'm not going to do that this time round. I'm going to instead open it in the MAXScript editor. So to access the MAXScript editor, we can come down to the bottom left here where it says Mini Listener, and we can right click and say Open Editor Window. And then you see I have the script already loaded in. However, you can load it just by saying File, Open, and selecting it. The reason I wanted to first before running the script and loading into 3ds Max was because this category name here is set to Harry's. Now, this might not be something that you want. If you have a series of scripts which you've downloaded from the internet, you might want to choose a more appropriate, meaningful name for your category. However, obviously for my purposes, this is fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to evaluate this entire script and load it into 3ds Max. So you can do that just by pressing Control E, and that's going to then load it into 3ds Max. And that is equivalent to dragging and dropping the script into the viewport. So now that we've done that, we can just close down this window. We can say customize user interface, and we can see that Harry's category has been created. We have the MacCreator tool. However, at this time, the MacCreator tool hasn't been assigned a hotkey. It hasn't been placed in any toolbars or any quad menus. So I'm going to assign it a hotkey to use, and I know that Shift Q is render, so something maybe like Alt Shift Q, which is not assigned to anything, might be quite nice to assign. So let's do that, and let's close this window. So now when we press Alt Shift Q, MacCreator dialog is going to appear. So let's open the render setup. Go to render elements. So the traditional way to create and assign a mat pass, if we just create a few objects, is to go to Add, Mat, and then either assign the mat pass to objects based on the material ID, the object ID, or you can include them or exclude them through this window here. Now, not every object has a material applied to it, so this script is not based on material IDs, and also it's not based on this exclude-include window, because really it's just something that I just find it easier to work with the object IDs, and I'm quite bad at naming my objects, so trying to assign object IDs based on the names of objects in the scene wasn't really something which appealed to me. So it's based on the object ID. So let's say we want to create a few map passes for these boxes here. So I have this map pass and I'll set it to object ID 1, and I want it to be assigned to this box here. So I'll right click and say object ID, and I'll set to that 1. Now let's say I want another mat. I want this to be object ID 2. I'll assign that there. I want another mat, object ID 3, and I want another mat, object ID 4, and so on. This is how you would create mats, separate mats for these objects here. However, if we just select all of the objects, and I'm going to use a tool which I'll discuss in a second, just to set the IDs of these objects. So I've just set the selections ID to 0, so it's back to the default. So just as an example, in this tool you can say I want one map per object in selection, create, and that's it, them all created now. So ID 1, ID 2, ID 3, ID 4, ID 5, and we can use another tool in this to actually see what objects have the ID of, say, 1, what has ID 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it's much quicker to use this tool to create separate passes, map passes, for your selected objects than to do it the manual traditional way. You can also, of course, if we come up to the map creation method, we can say one for all in selection rather than one per object in selection. Let's just select the objects, and what this is going to do is it's going to create another map pass, and it's going to set all of the IDs for this group of objects to correspond to the new map pass. So I'll just say create, and it's going to create one with an ID of 6 now. So if I say select objects with ID 5, and all in 6 now. Okay, so that's the one for all in selection. So it's just going to create one ID pass and make all of the objects included in that pass. Whereas the one per object in selection obviously creates separate passes for each individual object in your selection. The next section is the map parameters, and the map parameters just mimics the options that you have down here. So you can say enable filtering, you can change the name if you want as well, and of course you have the same ability to save the image or not save the image, or give it a file path. So if we just say test and make a JPEG, and now with these 5 objects still selected, I'll say one for all in selection and create. And you'll notice that we have the file path here. However, for some reason it's not appearing in this this file path section down here. What you have to do is, once it's created, just click on it, click off it and click on it again, and it will come up. The reason that this happens is because the file path is applied to the mat pass after it's created. So we still had it selected when it was created, so you just click off it and then click it back on, and it will appear. The next section is the object ID assign method. So you can choose to assign a unique ID, and what this is going to do is search the object in the scene. It's going to get the highest ID value, and it's going to make the ID number of the next created mat one more of whatever the highest is. So at the moment we can see that 7 is the highest. So if I just say one for all in selection and I say create mat, it's going to go on with an ID of 8. And if you have one object in selection and you have the unique ID selected, it's going to find the highest ID number, which is 8, add 1 to it, which would be 9, and it's going to start from 9. So it's going to be, say, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So now if we create that, so we have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and that's the unique ID. However, you can also say assign user specified ID. So let's just move this here. You can also assign a user specified ID. So at the moment we can see that only the ID of 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, yes, so it's those 5 are being used, I should say. So we know that, say, 1 is not being used, so we can just say one for all in selection with an ID of 1, create. That's going to go back to the ID of 1. And if you have the one for all objects in selection, you say, let's say 3, it's going to start from 3 and increment to however many you have in your selection. So if we have 5, it's going to go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there you see that. Okay. So that's pretty much the tool, all the tools discussed. So some of the limitations, let me see. So naming, when you save the elements using the save image here, if you have one per object in select enabled, it doesn't really work that well. So let me just delete all of these ID passes, and let's just say back to 0. So everything is now pretty much as it was by default. If I say one per object in selection and I save it as, again, test, and it just says JPEG, and I say create matte render elements, you can see that all of these elements are now saved to the same location. So what's going to happen is they're going to save over one another. So only the last matte pass, ID 18, will actually be saved, because 14 is going to be created, then it's going to be saved over by 15, which is going to be saved over by 16, and then by 17, and then by 18. And then nothing saves over 18. So 18 is the only one that's going to be saved. So this method of choosing a file path works really nicely if you are using the one for all in selection. But if you're using one per object in selection, I'd probably still recommend that you define your own file paths in the render elements tab of the render setup window. This tool works with scanline and mental ray. However, it doesn't work with V-Ray, and I doubt it would work with any other third-party renderer. The reason I believe it doesn't work with V-Ray is because V-Ray has their own V-Ray object ID pass, which is, I think, their own matte ID pass. I could be wrong, but I don't think it's going to work with V-Ray. And that's pretty much it, actually. That's everything I think I need to cover. I hope you enjoy the script, and I hope you get some good use out of it. Thank you for watching.